Hi, I'm Claudia. This is my helper, Jack. It is the 29th of March, 2021. I'm sorry, I forgot the date last time. And Jack will be playing the part of Rachel slash Romeo. In this scenario, Romeo has moved in with his long-term girlfriend. They're in a much better place, and he is doing better in his mental health. He hasn't been off work for 3 months and his relationships at work are stronger. However, he is still having quite down days. Okay. Hi, Romeo.
Hey Claudia,
It's lovely to see you.
nice
How
to
are
see
you?
you again. I'm better, I think, all in all.
Fantastic.
Um, so I think like what's been really, really great recently is, I mean, obviously I was having a lot of time off work before and felt quite insecure, like very alone in a lot. And obviously my girlfriend, like we've been together for quite a long time, but she was away all the time, and I like working, and work has been shit, and she's been away, and I felt fucking
It's
lonely.
been a really hard time for you.
Just long, like ill valued, but I don't know. With all the time I was having off work, instead of pulling away from me, which I thought was inevitable, I was terrified about. I mean, she's really tried to help adapt to the pressure that I was feeling, and we've moved in together now, which has been fucking amazing. Obviously, she's still away a lot, but
That's fantastic.
it's great. Like she's calling me every night after work, whereas before I didn't want to call her because I didn't want to pester her while she was away, even if work was terrible. But like that's yeah, it's so much less of an issue now because we're living together. She's there for me, and yeah, and she's calling me a lot as well. It's just
That's
much
so
more
amazing.
empowering relationship, and I've been in work so much more like the structure and the trust. I think more than anything, it's like I'm not worried that she's going to fuck off anymore. Like we're living together and everything. It's just perfect, or it's much better, but the issue is despite all these things being better, and I certainly feel a lot more empowered, it doesn't deny the fact that I'm still crashing and burning a lot. And no matter what she does to pull me out, like the work pressures are still there, boss is still a bastard, and I still hate it a lot.
I understand
All
that.
of it a lot.
I mean, it's fantastic that your relationship's in such a better place, but it certainly can't be a cure-all for some of those very
And I
real
thought it was
pressures
gonna
and
be.
anxieties. Nothing ever really is, I don't think. I mean, it would be fantastic. It would be brilliant if it could be, but
Yeah.
a lot of those feelings that you have, they're all very real, genuine feelings about being uncertain about how happy you are in work. You know.
Yeah.
So as we were saying, your relationship, it can't be a cure-all for all of those things, and it's brilliant to have a foundation, a happy, loving home life from which to tackle each of those things in turn. And I think it's so great that you can be in this position now where every day in your present moment, you can feel that there is this strong, stable thing from which to base your other steps from. And it sounds as if, just to go back to something that you said when you were talking about what's going better with your partner, it sounds as if that structure, that regularity of the phone call when she's at work is really helping you to perhaps change some of those negative thought patterns that you were having before about when she wouldn't call you, what is she doing, where has she
Completely.
gone, and it starts this spiral of negative thinking in your head. Now you've solved that with a practical step that's really helped to, as you're saying, put that structure in place to really give you to a really good groundwork to start from, which is incredible. And I just wonder if there's ways that we can put similar steps like that in place, like achievable practical steps that could have similar outcomes of regularity, routine and structure for you to help tackle some of that negative thinking.
Okay. I think that's, you know, it's like that was a step by her. I don't know if maybe it's my science, because again, like you say, everything would just escalate. She was right, but she took that positive step and it was brilliant. But like, I'm struggling to see a way to transpose that, because the work scenario is still the thing. Like, I'm much happier at home. I'm less wrought with the anxiety that she's going to leave, and that's so much better. I mean, it's still there, but it's so negated. But in work, like, but even some relationships at work have got better. You know, my boss wasn't just bastard. I felt like they'd turned the team against me. It felt very much like people talking about how, now I don't feel so severely there at the moment, but I still feel like an enigma in the workplace. You know what I mean? I don't really know what phases necessarily to take to try and replicate that.
I understand that, but isn't that just the perfect example of what we're talking about in a way? Because, you know, you felt as if your boss was really being quite nasty and quite negative towards you. And in turn, it created this sort of negative spiral of thought that it was infiltrating the thinking of your colleagues, that they all thought similarly against you. But you didn't objectively have proof of that. It could have been completely the opposite. It could have been completely different feeling coming from them. But because you'd entered this spiral of thought about your boss, it had escalated and escalated, much the same as you're thinking about your partner and what she was doing because she wasn't calling. And whilst you're right, you can't, you know, and in fact, it's turned out that you've actually forged quite strong relationships with your colleagues, you're saying.
Yeah.
So, it really is just indicative of how our minds can be quite tricky things. You know?
Indeed.
But it's not necessarily always the case what we're thinking in our darkest, most self-attacking thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, but like, what are the best techniques? Because it's taken a while to get there with my partner. And, you know, some of these things have happened organically in the workplace, but I feel like a lot of that is partially down to my presence being there that's necessarily really pushed that forward. Are there any things that I can do to perhaps change those ideals when I'm at work and see things differently? You know, it's not always that intuitive when you're there and you're in those moments, you know. Like, I still want to run away from work sometimes, and I do. I'm not sure the best way to implement necessarily those. Yeah.
So, is there a specific type of scenario that happens at work that you would like to change, how it makes you feel, or the way that it makes you act, or anything like that, or is it more of a general type of thing?
I mean, there's definite actual ones, like when the boss isn't present in the office, I feel a lot freer to be myself. And perhaps those are the moments that I feel like the relationship's better, because, I mean, my being present there more means there's more of those opportunities.
So it's better for you to be in the office or not in the office?
Being in the office more is giving me more opportunities to be present when the boss isn't there, but it is still a constant shadow. I mean, the ideal would be the boss wasn't there.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure that's true for many.
I basically go into myself whenever they're present, and it also has a lasting effect after they leave, or if there's things coming up and I struggle to think past the pressure of those situations.
That's understandable. Okay, there are a few different ways that we might be able to think about managing that. One practical example of something that you could put in place at work, although it would depend on whether you think that your boss would be responsive to it, would be a mental health first aid plan, where you can create a wellness plan between yourself and your boss that would suggest your mental health and suggest a structure of support around your mental health.
We might need to chat about a different idea first.
Understandable. Okay, maybe that's something you can build up to with him.
They don't necessarily, they've ridiculed me in the past.
Okay. I mean, I think the first thing that you have to understand is that other people's responses are outside of your control. It's a hard thing to cope with, particularly when you're talking about a caustic relationship with someone in this kind of situation. But they are just objectively outside of your control, and it's not something that you can influence, particularly if they're being very unresponsive to any type of communication. The only thing that we really have power to influence are our own thoughts and behaviours.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's fair.
It's all that we have control over, really.
Yeah.
But it's an incredibly powerful thing to have control over, because it means we have control over our entire minds. So all of the things that you're thinking, all of the ways that that you feel as if your boss is making you feel belittled or anxious or upset, you have power over all of those emotions. And really, it's up to you as to whether you choose to feel belittled or anxious or upset. And there are practical ways that we can work on changing that feeling inside you. We can work on breathing techniques, we can work on anxiety reducing exercises, we can work on simple steps, practical things like going for a walk when you're feeling really stressed or anxious.
Because I do tend to just focus in on my computer and shut everything out when I'm at work. And I'm not even being productive, Okay.
Do you feel that you're sort of just looking at it so that you don't look anywhere else?
100%. 100%. And I hate acting differently as well. And I do act differently. I'm quieter, I'm more reclusive, less responsive. And then I think that they think I'm weirder as well, because of those things. And that escalates as well.
So maybe in those moments where you feel yourself zoning in on your computer like that, it could be a good idea to step back and go outside and go for a walk and just sort of gain a little bit of perspective, have a look at some things outside, really focusing on them. It could also be a good idea. You mentioned that you've had some better relationships with some of your colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're feeling that introversion and that quietness set in, to seek out one of your colleagues that you're enjoying talking to.
Yeah.
And just have a conversation about anything, just to sort of loosen yourself back up again.
Yeah, and no, you're like, that 100% does help. I definitely feel more empowered. That's why work isn't so bad, because they feel, because of the friendships that are forming in the office, 100%.
That's brilliant,
And I haven't been seeking those out, I sort of take them as great moments when they happen, but they're quite fleeting at the moment,
Yeah. No, completely. So
more reactive pleasures as opposed to active ones.
And I think that's entirely understandable when you've felt as if you're very on guard at work and you're feeling so tense and anxious.
So on guard.
You're maybe not seeking out these other things. You're feeling like you've got your blinkers up a little bit.
Always.
So I think that the thing to really, really try to remember is that our actions influence our thoughts and vice versa. Everything that, if you go and you seek out a conversation with a colleague and you have a positive conversation, you'll come back from that feeling reinvigorated, feeling confident, feeling energetic, and feeling like extroverted again.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sit there and you look at your computer, even though you're struggling to work because you're upset, it's going to reinforce those feelings of, I can't do my work anyway, I don't have any friends here, I don't know what to do, and then you're going to be back in that kind of cycle. So I think it's about breaking those cycles of thought that have started to come into place in that situation. Not necessarily because of anything that you've done, but because you're in these relationship patterns that have really started to negatively affect you.
No, that would be good, because at the same time, sometimes call my girlfriend, but then I feel like it's an unnecessary pressure on her. No, I think more time with my colleagues would potentially be better, because I know that they feel the same about the boss as well. That's partially And I hate bitching and stuff, but I know that that's a bit of a place that we found some connection as well. So
That's fantastic.
yeah, no, that's really, that would be really good actually.
Brilliant.
And there's enough moments as well, you know, when that's possible.
Well, if you could, when you leave this session, maybe until the next time I see you again, so in a week's time, try that. Try speaking with your colleagues. Try maybe occasionally going for a walk if you don't see your colleagues or you're not in the mood to speak. And maybe also just look out for little things throughout the week when you're not feeling stressed or anxious, when you're in a good place, to notice what is it right now that's happening that's making me feel better, that's making me feel relaxed and comfortable in this space.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about it next time, and maybe we can try and seek out some of those more often at
Oh,
work
great.
as well.
Like we've done, yeah.
Yeah?
Nice. Okay, that
Great.
sounds great.
All right then, Romeo.
All right.
So great to see you again.
Thank you, Claudia.
Bye.